What's going on, everyone? We got some Browns news to get to as Jesse James has been signed by the Cleveland Browns, I think. So this is going to be a different Browns report here. Matthew Peterson filming ahead of time. Unfortunately, I have a funeral to go to today, and so I didn't want you guys to be left empty-handed if the Browns went out and signed Jesse James, because at the moment it sounds like they're pretty close to striking a deal. So I figured, you know what, let's just film a video just in case, and if the signing happens, boom, there's not going to be much that really changes. We can proceed with the signing. So let's break down this future signing, at least future for me, present for you guys here, because I like the move. The Browns had to get a tight end. They were not going to go into week one with just Njoku and Bryant on this roster, okay? Now, at the moment, I don't know the corresponding move, right? When Kellen Mond was claimed off waivers, no one was put on short-term IR to open up a roster spot. Ultimately, Isaac Rochelle got cut, which was a bit of a surprising move. So if the Browns, well, now that they have signed, because you're watching this, sign Jesse James, at the moment, I don't know the corresponding move. If you guys do, by all means, let me know in the comment section. I don't have a very good stab at who the 53rd man on the roster is right now. I don't think it's going to be a lineman like Froholt, for example, because the Browns only have 9 right now in the offensive line. They want to skim down to 8. Doesn't seem very safe right there. So I'm kind of trying to reach for the stars on who could be the next guy out. No one in the secondary. They only took 5 corners. Regardless, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Jesse James here, because this is a familiar face, right? This is a guy who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers for quite some time, and the last couple of seasons he's been in the in the NFC North with the Lions for 2 seasons and with the Chicago Bears last year. So last year was a pretty abysmal year for him in terms of stats. Only played in 8 games. Only played in 14 games and only had 8 targets for 7 receptions, 62 yards, and 1 touchdown. Now, over his entire career, he's put up some good numbers. Over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. And we're talking about a player who's a tight end 2 to 3, right? Who was behind Heath Miller and who's been behind, for example, players like TJ Hawkinson in Detroit and whatnot. So I like this move because the Browns, they needed a tight end. Who were they kidding, right? Who were they trying to fool with only rolling with 2 tight ends? So let me know how you guys feel about the move. In fact, if you want, don't even grade it because it's hard to really give a letter grade for a tight end 3. Just let me know who you want the Browns to sign. If you are looking in the free agency pool or if there's someone you want to trade for, this is just an opportunity for you guys watching to let your voices be heard, sound off in the comment section. So breaking down this tight end room a little bit here, because this offense is going to be interesting with Jacoby Brissett versus Deshaun Watson. With Jacoby Brissett, I'm expecting a lot more of what we've seen over the last couple of years with Baker Mayfield running the offense, right? A lot of power run. And that involves multiple tight end sets, which is why the Browns had to have a 3rd tight end, if not a 4th tight end. In fact, when the Browns went into training camp, it was clear, at least to me, that it was Njoku, Bryant, and I thought Miller Forrestall would get that 3rd spot. Ultimately, bad preseason. He does not make the 53. He's on the practice squad. And then they brought in a flurry of just huge guys who hopefully can turn into an NFL player, right? They've got the size. Zaire Mitchell-Payton, Marco Santos Silva, right? Players of that stature. Nakia Griffin-Stewart. In fact, I was a big fan of Griffin-Stewart throughout preseason. And so ultimately the Browns were like, you know what? If we bring 3 of these huge guys in, hopefully one of them can turn into something for us. Didn't happen. And they weren't just going to give a roster spot to someone because they needed to check the box of, well, we have to have 3 tight ends, right? So they said, you know what? Let's roll with 2 for the time being. We'll find another tight end in free agency, like Jesse James, for example, here, because we know what he can do. We wanted to give these young guys a shot, see if they could offer anything and be a surprise guy, because Jesse James, we know who he is as a player, right? So Jesse James coming aboard the roster here in time for week 1. And thinking about this offense with not just Jesse James, but with the tight end set and what they're going to want to do against the Panthers, like I said, with Jacoby Brissett, It's going to be really fun to see Nick Chubb rack up the carries and Kareem Hunt. The Browns are definitely going to utilize these two backs in a lot of sets on the field at the same time, I think. You got Kareem Hunt on the last year of his contract, so the Browns have no problem force-feeding him the football, milking everything they can out of him. Nick Chubb, they just gave a contract extension to, which means they definitely want to get their money's worth. And Jacoby Brissett, they are not going to push to try and make him the Superman quarterback. No, they want Jacoby Brissett to manage the game, not turn the football over, and do his job. And so Jesse James, being that third tight end, he's never been a huge receiving tight end. He's had some good glimpses here and there, but all in all, he's being brought on as a blocking tight end role, right? And that's what you kind of have in Bryant, although he's taken steps to not really be a blocking tight end. I mean, just look at the end of last season. What was it? The Ravens game, he had a nice touchdown grab. Shout out to Baker, 4 interceptions. In fact, can we just take a quick sidebar here? I never got the chance to talk about Baker's off the leash t-shirt. I've never understood where people got this idea of, one, free Baker, and two, Baker's been kept on a leash. When was Baker in captivity? What are we talking about here, right? He was never put in prison. He was never put in Guantanamo Bay, and he was not on a leash. Unfortunately, he injured his shoulder last season in more than one way, and Kevin Stefanski was tied down to his disabilities, right? His limitations. And so Baker at this point, he's kind of a hypocrite in where he says, I've been staying off social media. Because remember, there was the whole, I'm going to F them up. And then Baker was like, yeah, I didn't even know about that. I'm off social media. And then the next day, I'm on Twitter, and I see Baker promoting official merchandise of his new t-shirt before the Panthers-Bears game. Like, the hypocrisy right now is like, you know what, dude? I appreciated a lot for what you did for this city to help the Browns end that playoff drought. Now, he's not alone, but he definitely was a part of it. Now, I'm a little bit more sour towards him, and I'm like, you know what, Baker? Enjoy Carolina, right? Enjoy running for your life behind this unproven offensive line, and watch Myles Garrett and Clowney rack up the sacks. I want the first play. I was talking about this at work as we were wrapping up the video. Poor Jesse James. I mean, this guy gets signed by the Browns, and the last third of the video has just been shit-talking Baker. But I want the first play to be a Denzel Ward pick six. Like, I would rather have that over a Myles Garrett sack, fumble, scoop, score. No. A Denzel Ward right off a curl where Baker is just looking to his left and then fires it to his right, and he's like, damn, forgot about 21 on that other team. All right, Jesse James signing with the Browns. I don't have any contract figures. I'm filming this well before it happens, if it ever does happen. If not, I made this video for no reason, and no one besides me will ever know about it. All right, that is going to do it for us today. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you go ahead and do so, and go Browns.